Does that start at?
57.
Look at that. There it is. Now that they get here. Right. Well, welcome everybody. Going to order the Planning and Development Committee meeting on 1 o'clock on August 11th, 2021. Anything we want to add?
This one, not this meeting.
Okay. So approval of the agenda, recommendation that the Planning and Development Committee meeting agenda for August 11th, 2021 be approved as circulated. Gord, Brian, all in favor? Yes, good. Just that's approval of the minutes, recommendation that the minutes of the Planning Development Committee meeting held on July 14th be adopted. Gord, favor. So be it. Development services update. Looks like you got a lot on there. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, these are the applications. You can see a lot of them are coming to council, or any of them in committee meeting today. Knocked a couple off from the previous meetings, but yeah, if there's any questions about any of them, then we're available to answer those questions.
393 Coach Road. That's a riparian.
Correct.
That's not even in our wheelhouse, is it?
It is, and it's on the agenda for this meeting today.
Mm-hmm.
So are we now dealing with riparian area, not front counter?
Well, there's two parts to it. One is the provincial part.
Yeah.
They have to approve it, but we have to, it's our watercourse development permit area.
So we have to approve it before, we have to give it its blessing, so to speak, as the council before it moves to the next phase.
The opposite way. Province needs to approve it, and then council can issue it.
Okay, so then it's on here. And is it on here? Yeah.
On the agenda.
And then it's on the agenda. So I'll let you leave that.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Go ahead, Gord.
Just the last one there, 00 Old Town Road, is that last property on the, as you go into Old Town and up on the right hand? Is that
Correct.
is it subdivision or just a?
Yeah.
Right.
What, just one home or?
3 summer homes
Okay.
when they get there.
If we can get there.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Okay, that's 4A5 new business, 1129 Riverside Avenue. This is, we've looked at this once before, it came here. This is now, I think that's on the agenda for tonight as well, isn't it?
Is
Okay, so go ahead, Scott, would you lead this?
This one to Sarah.
Hey, Sarah.
I get to lead the way in the PDC. So yeah, you guys from council, you'll have seen this before. Actually, you guys have as well for the zoning amendment. This is the development permit for form and character, and the variances you would have noticed last time needed for the changes. So it's located just off of Main Street and Riverside Ave there. You might be familiar with it. This is the thing.
Space bar.
The space bar. So this would be the proposed building. So the image on the left there, that's what it will look like fronting onto Riverside Avenue. So they do need a height variance just for the commercial component of this building. So this building, it'll be a building strata in the end, and the individual units will be sold, and it'll be up to those owners as to how they want to use it. The C4A zone, which was adopted, allows for both hotels and motels as well as multifamily residential. So they're wanting to potentially combine those uses in one building. So this building meets the maximum height for residential, but exceeds the height for commercial. So they need a variance to that zone for the commercial height regulation. So that's what this is. The image on the right there is what the back end of the building looks like. So this area along that wall is where the RV parking is for Portside Place across the road. You know, it's a little hard to see. So the other variances that they're needing are basically to lot lines. So on the bottom there, that big gray block, that's the hotel, motel / residential building. So they need a variance to the front lot line as well as to the center line of Riverside Ave, just to bring it forward on the property to respect that easement area, which you can see on the right. They also need a variance for their waste enclosure. So that's going to be fronting onto Riverside Ave at the back of curb or back of sidewalk. It's just for them, it made the most sense in terms of accessing the site for large vehicles like garbage trucks, for example, just because things are so tight with that easement in the back there. So they have that closer. So the variances to the front lot line and center line for the waste. And then on the top right there, they've got their 3 marine storage units. So they've got those pushed back a bit towards that interior lot line there. So I believe that parcel there is where the smokehouse is, restaurant. You guys are familiar with that that's going in. So they're a little closer to the lot line there just to make everything work. So this is going to council this evening. Are there any recommendations to council?
Go ahead, Gordon.
Well, I mentioned to Scott, I know that easement's kind of a funny thing and being as 2 different developments, but, and it goes down the middle of their property. I did talk to the owner the other day and he was asking about get rid of the easement and buy it, or could they? Because since the development has been built, they've only been asked for the key for the gate once. And just recently, they've just decided to vote out rentals. So now they're not even gonna have any, like, so I don't know. I don't know if it's doable. It is a real messy,
Yeah. The district did support them in doing that and supported the strata in looking into removing it. So the strata did get legal advice, et cetera, et cetera. The end result was they had a vote and most of the owners in Portside were not interested in having that released. So that's the beginning, is to have the strata release their interest in that. And there was no issue as far as the district goes and staff in supporting a variance to their parking requirement, because that's what that's for, as well as an amendment to the existing development permit that required this. So, but it really rested between those property owners to get that going.
Thank you.
You have something, right?
No, go ahead.
So it's hard to hear you. Sorry. It's like when you talk that way, you can't hear you over here. You either need a microphone or something.
Or just be loud like the rest of us.
Yeah. So you said that the strata is interested in getting rid of that easement?
They were originally when the property was for sale and the current owner was looking at it. I guess there'd been some conversation back and forth. So I had talked to the previous strata president, vice president actually, and gave them some information. And they looked into it and ultimately the strata voted that they didn't want to get rid of it.
Oh, so they're keeping it.
Exactly. Yeah, they want to keep it. And I have heard from some new strata owners recently, like they're very interested in that and they've been asking for access. So I've just been connecting them with the agent.
Okay. So I know this is kind of Johnny come lately here, but you look at the property line on that, and the property line, that fence is actually probably what, a meter back in onto the property. Anyway, that is district property and it's been used for years for parking. And there's 5 parking spots out in front of there. And now with their new design, they changed the garage door entrance to coming in off the street. So we lose them. Then they got their access for their roadway in there. So we lose that too.
Yeah,
So we're losing 5 parking spots.
yeah. I mean, they were informal. It wasn't official parking and part of the, like, the off-site works that they're gonna need to provide through the building permit process. Like, they're gonna be putting in sidewalk, boulevard, right, curb. So there are other parcels that have given that land already, and then other ones on either side haven't for the total road width, the finished road. Am I making sense? So I mean, we weren't going to end up with parking there anyway. It was something that I did discuss with the agent, like, look, you're essentially asking for 3 accesses, you know, operations has concern about snow storage, there's already a parking issue there. But a lot of it, I guess, is from the strata next door. They have all the parking they're supposed to have and they're exceeding it. So anyway, they had a good case for why they needed to leave, right? So one was because of coming here, meeting the parking requirements for this.
Yeah.
And getting the garbage truck turned around. The other was if they did this unit like they've done the other units with the garage here and the commercial unit facing here, right? It would have been very difficult to get a truck and boat trailer in and out of there, because that's the intention, right? Like if you look at the elevation rendering, you can see how tall those doors are. Like, they're meant for boats. Boats are RVs.
Yeah.
So that, it's just too tight. So they had a really good justification for it, and it's up to council to decide if that's an acceptable justification.
Okay, so then if you went back to that again, you mentioned the garbage on Riverside.
Here,
That's on our property.
No.
Road allowance.
no, it's all on their property, but it's in the setback.
So we're gonna give up parking for a garbage dumpster on the street.
Well, it would only be parking that's on the street. This isn't on the street. And it's not a dumpster, it's an enclosure. It'll look
It's
nice.
still in their, on their
It's on
property,
there.
but it's in the setback.
It would be at the back of curb or back of sidewalk.
Well, if you look at if you look at the property line, their property line is behind the one from Riverside, so that's not their
This is
property.
the property line.
Yeah.
And then this is the edge of pavement. So they've got that on there because we have a special line setback to Riverside out from the center. So they've shown that this is the edge of pavement. And this is their property line.
Yeah, so their garbage should be on their own side of the fence.
And it is.
It is.
Yeah, it's just in the setback.
Yeah.
Wow.
So with their fence, like you said, is like a meter back from their lot line. And it's right in line with the fence. So they'll probably take out a portion of the fence because they're going to keep the fence.
So they're intended on doing the sidewalk and that on the new width, or,
Yeah, that'll come in through the building permit application. That will be a requirement.
okay, so,
Enter services.
so here we go again with a piece of sidewalk and a street light and nothing on either side of it.
It's coming though.
Well, what are we doing with Oldie? With the building next door?
Riverside Docks.
Yes, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, it's driven by development, right? And then our capital works projects. So it depends on kind of where
Varies.
we're at in capital
Okay,
projects.
Well, Barry's on the other side, so.
yeah, I know, but you have a sidewalk that ends on.
No, that's what I mean.
Kind of makes.
Both sides are not.
Then you're gonna put something in the middle of someplace.
But if you don't do it now, when it's time to do it, then the town will have to pay for
Yeah, so we.
that section.
Can't,
That's the trouble, right?
Cash in lieu, but from what I understand, council isn't keen on that anymore because of what's happened in the past where the cost of doing it goes up. So you get cash in lieu and then now it
Yeah.
costs more by the time you're ready to.
yeah, 20 years later, it's no good. So is there a way that we can finish that? Like, we should just either buy or take the property from Oldies to make the corner the way it's supposed to be. That way, at least we get to there and it's done. Because that's just go out on the highway and look at powder lights. 100 feet of sidewalk and 2 street lamps and a curb.
Sure looks good though and sets a precedent for everyone else, right? Like.
Well,
I don't know, I'm not sure if this is even a thing, but if this developer did their sidewalk and gutter and everything and streetlights, and the district of Sycamoose continued that along to the corner at their cost, and there was some sort of latecomers agreement from that corner property, because it's probably not going to be a welding shop forever.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's possible, or if there's some sort of way of recouping that money later, because I'm just throwing it out there, like because it does kind of make sense if that, like Jeff says, if that just ends right there, there's possibility of if it's gonna end and there's people driving into it, there's people parking along the front of old manufacturing that could, it's a messy situation, and is it
Service areas for sidewalks.
75 feet long?
well, see, we did the property, we did in front of After Dark. And I'm pretty sure that we got something in there that, because the sidewalk ended before After Dark. And we put that in there when we did shoe swap. And I'm pretty sure that when he comes in for his DP to do his big building he's adding on there, he's got to pay for that sidewalk. I'm pretty sure that there's something in the file on that. We didn't do it just because
We're good, guys.
we did it to finish it off, and make it look like something, but I'm positive there's, so if we look into that, you may be able to do the same thing with Oldie Manufacturing.
And the rationale of doing that sidewalk in front of the distillery was that it's on Main Street and it's part of the downtown. Well, so is
So
front of old manufacturing. It's a very important spot there.
and I mean, if it ends at their property and doesn't get to the next guy's, that's one thing, but to have it in the middle of nothing,
Yeah,
that's just retarded.
What did you say, Sarah? Like,
Oh, I think
You
in this case, part of it is a land, like we don't have the road right of way dedication right now to do it.
so if
If you wanted to just do it.
a developer was to buy old manufacturing, let's just say.
Right.
And would they have to give up that strip of land as part of the,
You could negotiate it,
it's not something that's triggered?
not necessarily, Scott.
Yeah, I think we'd probably have to enter in some kind of agreement to acquire the land.
Or are we kind of getting into the weeds a little bit here?
A little bit.
Well, how did all the other people on the other side give up theirs? They did a development and they gave it up as, and it was just part of the conditions of the DP.
At least what they, probably when they got their building permit or their subdivision, they gave up the land, they dedicated the land.
Yeah, same as the walkway along the river.
I think there was a
Yeah.
word exchange between the two. Because we closed, I think, part of Bush, is it Bush Lane? There was a land exchange.
And that's the other thing is we got the Bush Lane out the back end. If they do this, why wouldn't we open that up?
Well, I think the lot exists because we closed part of Bush Lane.
I mean, that would be, the road comes right to their gate, so no gate there. All right, so I just don't think that putting the garbage on the main street is like, they probably have a gate there so they can open it up and the garbage truck can come in there and take it out on the road, most likely. I just, that's.
Well, they have a drawing here. They want to do, right?
Build them out of cinder block and then they put a metal gate on the front so you don't know the garbage is in there. We can request that if it's not, but I know we did that at Mare Landing and it looks good. You can roll that garbage containers too.
Mhm.
Example would be the one out in the parking lot here, get all the garbage container out, pick it up and then roll it back in.
Is there a drawing of, an elevation drawing of the garbage can?
There isn't, no, but it does indicate, like this site plan indicates that it's like the one we have in our parking lot, that idea.
But
So it's enclosed, it's got two big doors.
would it not make sense to have an elevation drawing of that side of the property because it's from Riverside? Just to your point, Jeff.
Did ask for it a couple times and this is what I got.
Yeah, so
I was hoping they'd show the sidewalk.
that doesn't show it.
How it would, where we basically end up with parking in front.
Because if that side, the back of the garbage can has the same form and character of what we see there, then it's not an issue. Is
I
it?
expect that it would have the same form and character, and those are the DP conditions, right? Like if you look at the draft permit, the development permit,
Right,
talks about finishes and
yeah.
thing. Yep.
So I guess my concern is the garbage, like, you know, how often does it get emptied? You're walking by the street and it's gonna stink, most likely, especially when we had 40-degree weather. So I would ask, everything else, I don't have an issue with, just that garbage at the front.
Right on Riverside.
Other than that, it looks like a great development. And they've been more than accommodating with what we asked for when they came in here the last time. I mean, they've done their building, they've put the garage, they made commercial space there. So
Now,
how does that commercial space actually work? Because they've got the bushes there and they got a garage door, but I don't see
Yeah.
on the street side.
So there's a little sidewalk coming here. So you can come in through here, you can walk in here. The main entrance to it is over here currently. I think it's gonna depend ultimately on the tenant of the business.
Okay.
As to, you know, I'm sure there would be the potential for tenant. So the door you see here is for this unit upstairs.
Okay.
The door over here is for the commercial unit.
All right, so they switched that around then. Okay. Any other comments on this one?
you were mentioning before about Brett's referral and
Brad's referral.
it
Oh, yeah, so the idea about Brad not being happy about the setback from the property line, these things all have a zero, so wouldn't they just put a firewall in there?
Yep.
2-hour firewall, cinder brick or whatever?
Yeah, they'll meet whatever the latest. BC building.
Right,
And I think, and the zone requires it to be sprinkled too. The architect knows that, so he's like, yeah, well, it'll be sprinkled, it'll meet the latest version.
okay, right.
So
They,
one other comment. So like the commercial part, the only part I struggle with a bit is in terms of the streetscape. You know, it's nice if you know there's something commercial and it's not, you know, looking like a residential. And so I don't know, maybe it's part of the signage out front or something.
Yeah. So I did ask them to make sure they demonstrated that they met the policy guidelines in the OCP for the town center, right? So this is what they gave us. So we've got the bigger windows now so that you can kind of see in. I mean, it's
Oh, okay,
a very high
okay.
ceiling space. So that's why you kind of gotta wait for tenant because maybe they'll bring this down so that it's more like a commercial footage.
Mhm.
However, the floodplain is here, so potentially this window wouldn't come lower, but the inside floor would come up because they have to meet up CL. The rest of the building is fine. It's all garage on the bottom, but this is what we do. So, you know, they sketched in a sign, it'll be snack lights, kind of the idea.
Okay, good.
So, yeah. and they've got-
Yeah, because otherwise I just worry that you've got lamed up commercial where it's out of sight, out of mind. You've got another business that isn't, you know, doing well because nobody can figure out it's a business, but. Okay,
okay. Right, 202 Copper Street.
You want to make that there is a recommendation for the agenda, so it's up to the committee if they want a recommendation.
Well,
Add the,
our recommendation, or I don't know, I have to ask the rest of them. Are we all in agreement about with the garbage?
The resolution on your agenda.
Well, I think that I think the front of that property that faces Riverside, we probably need some more information. And an elevation drawing and I read through the detail of it, and I think an elevation drawing could be a recommendation.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah, but otherwise, I think we all agree it's great development, just a few details on that frontage.
So the resolution is the district of Sycamore authorized and issue a development permit for 21-061 PP and development variance permit. Property located at 11 to support the multifamily hotel development, commercial unit and marine storage building. We could approve that with 2 conditions. Go ahead, Gordon.
Yeah, I don't want to hold up. These guys have been waiting.
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
back because of the fire. This is
Yeah.
development.
Yeah.
We want it to pass tonight, so let's make a recommendation that's going to pass tonight.
With 2 conditions. Is that doable? Can we add?
But yeah, council can make a resolution that adds conditions to the development.
Okay, so we support this with the condition of
Yeah.
try to relocate the garbage and let's see some elevation drawings.
Okay, it's a tough one. Just
Go ahead.
thanks to the chair. Yeah, so that gives me some direction when we're having the council meeting tonight, so I know where we're going with this, and yeah, so I think staff's got it.
The Planning and Development Committee approved this with those 2 conditions.
Keep the ball rolling.
All in favor?
Absolutely.
Okay, Gary, good. Thank you. Sorry, so Copperstone 202, that the Planning and Development Committee recommend that the District of Sycamore Council issue development variance permit for 21-164 DVP for the development of a dwelling unit with an attached garage and secondary suite at 202 Copperstone Lane. Sarah, or, okay, go ahead.
All right, so yeah, this is on Copperstone Lane, just up above, is it Man Road?
Yeah.
Sorry about that, in the Bayview Estates development or Hillside development. It's a 3-story dwelling unit that's built into the slope. So they don't need any height variances, but they do need some setback variances. So setback to an exterior lot line. This is because that lot is abutting a hammerhead turnaround. So in this development, instead of doing a cul-de-sac at the end, they've got some hammerheads. So, emergency vehicles, garbage trucks can turn around. So the elevation that needs the setback variance is this portion here. So this is the entryway, and this is one of the garages on the front. And that's right in here. So these 2 lot lines here are the hammerhead turnaround off Copperstone part of it. So they need their setbacks everywhere else.
And any comments from the neighbors?
I haven't received any responses.
Okay, so we as a group, we drove out there and parked there this morning, one of those hammerheads, and people are using those as parking for their visitors. So it needs to be made clear that that's not parking, and we should put up no parking signs in all of those. All of them, because there's like 6 of them there. Because when you're up there, especially when you go down to the end of that Copperhead Road, if it's guys going down there to get garbage or whatever he's doing, if he's got a truck or snow removal even, they have to back all the way up that hill. So without that access to that turnaround, if the guy's got guests and they're parked there, then it's gonna be,
Well, and it looks like parking, right? So it's not surprising.
and any other comments? Go ahead, Gord.
Yeah, no, I made Brett aware of that because they have had issues. They can't turn around. So Brett said he would make note of it and they would probably put signs up. I know the owner or somebody put signs up in the far end of the other end of Copperstone Lane north, I guess it is. And there's no parking in that area, but not in any of the other ones.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I think as far as the variance goes on those two, that I don't see there being any impact on anything another neighbor because of that hammerhead in the way. And it's you know, I think it's kind of a no-brainer too.
Yeah, as long as they're not using it for parking, for excess parking, then that's not what they were designed for. Any other comments? Are we,
One is being considered by council this evening.
Yeah.
So, yep, we are asking.
so let's, are we all in agreement with the recommendation? I'll read it again, that the Planning Development Committee recommend that the District Six Council issue development variance permit at 21-164-DVP for the development of a dwelling unit with an attached garage and a secondary suite at 202 Copperstone Lane. Go ahead, Gord.
Can I make just one comment because we have all the planning staff here? I noticed that this, the letter said this was a single family residential and then in the works it says it's a secondary suite. Does this, most of the people that come in for development permits or building permits know that there is a Airbnb bylaw that's
Policy, isn't
probably
it?
going to be passed because there seems to be a lot of secondary suites in Bayview and they don't have a lot of parking. So I just wanted to, Bayview doesn't lend itself to Airbnbs, especially snowmobile trailers and stuff like that. But just, I just wanted to make you guys aware that it is really tight up there for parking and they are parking on the streets. And I mean, there is homes up there even this week that are Airbnb. And so just keep you aware of that. But yeah, no, I'm 100% in favor of this proposal. But I just want to, we got all the planning staff here, make that recommendation.
Right, all in favor? Carried, good. Pass it on. All right, 1209 Shuswap Avenue. Is this Sarah again? Okay, go ahead, Scott.
Okay, so this is an application for a development variance for property at 1209 Shuswap Avenue. This committee has seen this twice before. It's just, almost right on the corner of Main Street and Shuswap beside the distillery. The applicant is proposing to construct a commercial building on the property in support of a marine rental business. Here's the view of the property from Shuswap Avenue. So you can see the hedges along the front, and then you can see the fence. It's on the distillery property, and that fence would continue side of the property. Here you can see, the fence continued. The building would be more or less between the fence and the building with the orange across the top. You can see in the back. For the most part, the building as it is, it's changed location since the last time you saw it. Likely just the top of it will be on the other side of the fence. The drawing that was provided, you can see previously development variance permit would be required to have 2 meters from the rear property line because it was so close to the pub. So the building's been moved over onto the north side of the property, just on the left side of this drawing. The development variance permit, the conditions would be 3-meter landscape buffer along the west property line in common with Shuswap Ave. A 1.82 meter fence using the same materials as the existing fence, And then the building materials for the commercial building will be white, silver, and charcoal corrugated metal, and with a Quonset style roof as shown on Schedule C. And this is what Schedule C, so it would be a building similar to this. Yeah, and that's all the information I have for you right now. Yeah, this is gonna be considered by council tonight as well.
Okay, so we did discuss this briefly. So Trevor, this is what you plan on doing here. You've moved the building over there so that it's kind of out of that sight line. Thank you. So in our discussions, because somewhere along the line, when you come in for a DP, you're gonna invoke the rest of the works that need to be done to meet the downtown center core, which is the building that you saw before on Riverside. That's what our OCP states is supposed to be, storefront on the street. You don't have it. Basically, it's like residential, it's zoned to commercial. So we're going to recommend that the hedge in the front stay and that you maintain it. And that if you remove that hedge, you're going to have to reface that trailer so that it looks like storefront. Okay?
Sorry?
So that it looks that the trailer, the house you're living in looks like storefront if you remove the hedge. If you leave the hedge and just maintain it, like keep it trimmed up or whatever.
So just a question on that.
Go ahead.
Again, that hedge is there. It's been there for years and years, and unfortunately, it was never maintained either. So it's not in the best condition. So, I mean, we were out even trying to trim it up. It's mostly wood. There's not much leaves there. When you talk about removing it, I'm not intending to necessarily remove it and leave it removed, but I may have to replant it or whatever may have to happen because it's just not in condition to continue with it.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's acceptable.
As long as we
As
understand.
long as you leave a hedge there of sorts that is that height, then like if you want to put in 8 foot, 6 foot cedars, then you're
Okay, beautiful.
okay. So, but if you take it out, and I mean, we're just stating this so that it's publicly on the record and you
In
understand,
agreement.
okay? And the colors of that building need to be as you've described so that it kind of meets our OCP, okay? Good. So then we will, as a planning committee, will recommend that this development permit go ahead. All right? In favor? Okay. Go ahead, you're.
Just have one question to the chair. I was just looking at the recommendation here under the location on 1209 Shuswap Street, authorizing a new commercial building. Is that the case?
Yes,
It's this.
it was never to be a used building.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
No problem.
Thanks.
Can I just ask a question of council?
Certainly.
So when we started this whole planning back in January, I planned to build a stick-built shop. Okay, so the reason that this building came into play at all was because of the incredible increase in lumber prices at the time. Now, lumber is coming down. Things have taken time, so where we're at today, I don't know that I'm going to put a steel building like that because said originally was to be stick-built lumber, which is going to be more in your favor apparently anyway. So if I choose to go the stick-built route now, is that going to be a problem?
Scott, probably not.
Well, I mean, the permit as it is has the metal corrugated
It's
finishes.
metal finish anyways. It's just not going to be, these are pre-manufactured, stick-built with, metal sided, metal roofed.
I think ultimately we probably need to see it to make sure it meets the spirit of the development permit. So
Yeah. You know what, personally, if it's stick built or it's a prefab metal building, like I have a prefab on my property, metal building. As long as the outside of it is metal cladded, whatever, I'm not sure that it'll make that much difference. But you'll have to come back if you decide to change the dimensions.
No, that's not the case.
Okay.
It's just simply a matter of, like I said, originally was to be that way. Then, time had passed, lumber went up, now more time has passed, lumber's coming down. I prefer a stick building myself. This was just a secondary option. So I
Okay.
just want to make sure that I'm clear as to what my options are. All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments?
No.
All right, moving on, B, Trans-Canada Highway. This is 90, is this the one, this is the frontage road? Yeah. So this is, who's leading this one?
Happy.
Okay. Everybody get,
The subject property is designated as Highway Commercial B in the official community plan. And the applicant has applied for a highway commercial development permit application for the proposed commercial building to accommodate food and beverage services and retail sales, including a convenience store and a liquor store. The property is also zoned as C2, Highway Tourist Commercial, under the District of Sycamore's zoning bylaw. And the applicant has also applied for a development variance application to vary the setbacks, rear setbacks for the commercial building from 6 meter to 5.9 meter, and to vary the screening and landscaping on the exterior side of the lot across the Sherlock Road from 2 meter to 0.6 meter. The applicant is intending to put new fencing along that rear and west side of the property as a sound barrier between the proposed commercial building and the residential properties. The application has been referred to internal and external agencies as well for comments and concerns. The applicant is present today to give a brief presentation of the proposal and to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Hi, everybody.
the applicant is present.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're on Zoom. My name's Amr Kalu. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yes, Steffi, I believe that was Steffi, just laid out the details of the project. We're looking for pretty small variances. I thought we were only looking for a 1.5 to 0.9 meter setback on Sherlock Road, but I might have my information correct there. And then on the south of the property, for just, it's 0.1 meters, so about 10 centimeters, so not much at all. We've taken the initial meeting that I had with Scott and his comments under advisement. We did add additional windows to the Sherlock Road side. And then he was also talking about a residential suite above the property because it does allow for zoning. The zoning does allow for it, and the need for rentals and sycamores. So we are working on an amendment that will have that'll have a residential unit above CRU 1 and 3. And then on the property itself, we have more than enough parking. We've allotted for 40 parking stalls, 35 for the CRUs, 1 handicap, and 4 for the picnic area that we have towards the back of the property. Additionally, we've also taken into account what the district is looking for in terms of the landscaping. I believe we've provided more than enough space for landscaping, and additionally that picnic area to the back where we'd like to put some grass, have some shaded areas, and have some tables set up so that the residents of Sycamore can enjoy and the travelers that are passing through. Other than that, Steffi did send me an email this morning in regards to the landscaping. So the landscaping we have, basically what we're planning is a mixture of bark and mulch throughout the property. We're trying to keep in mind that the hot climate in Sycamores, all of the materials that have been used on the building as well are taking that into account so that they don't fade in the sun and everything looks nice. And the trees and the shrubs that we've chosen are drought resistant shrubs and trees. So we're going, basically what we're going to be looking at is red osier dogwood shrubs, the common juniper shrub, mock orange shrub, and then a mixture of mountain ash trees and cedar trees on the property. So that's about all I got for you guys. If there's any questions, I'll try to answer them the best I can. If I can't answer them, I'll take them back to my architect and I'll get you the answers.
I have a comment, like that's the first time I've seen that picture. So, because we got as this group, we got a development variance and we went over there and had a look at the property this morning.
Yeah.
And it's a great development. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just would ask that, like, where the building is actually sitting on the lots and what's left over, there's no topo anything. God, is it? It doesn't, where's that one? We don't have that.
Want to see, sorry?
Where's that, how the building is laid out on the lot?
It's next to this is the SO.
Yeah, but that isn't in the package we got. We got the notes, we got some drawings.
Yeah. We didn't get
We
that
got no layout of it.
of how the access is into the site and everything.
Yeah, we got nothing.
So the access, we're just gonna keep the two that front off of the frontage road. And we'll be closing, there's like this dirt access along Sherlock Road that will be closing off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, so we were kind of blinded about how and what the parking was gonna be. We're going, will there be enough parking? So, you know, that's great, but it wasn't included in the package that we got to review.
Yeah.
Also, now that we've mentioned the word landscape, because we seem to sometimes go a little stupid with the landscaping. It's highway commercial. So where's the landscaping going to be on this?
So there's, if you look at the plan that's up online right now, sorry, if you go back to the original. No, the overall site map. So if you look to the east of the property, or sorry, the north of the property towards like the Centex side, there'll be bark and mulch right along the frontage road, and besides where the access to the two properties are. Then there'll be the front patios that'll have a little bit of shrubbery and that kind of stuff. And then towards the south of the property, along the Chevron side, is where we're going to put that large picnic area. So travelers can come through and sit down and have a bite to eat. Doesn't matter. Like, we're not going to have any restrictions to who sits down there, obviously. And it'll be shaded trees and shrubs and grass that's down there, as well as picnic tables.
So basically minimal landscaping along the highway frontage.
There'll be, yeah, so along the highway front, you're going to be looking at just that area, because the frontage road does like come on an angle onto this.
Yeah. Okay. No, like I said, I was just curious about it. This wasn't in our package, so
yeah.
This is the first time we saw this in that other drawing.
Yeah.
All right, any comments? Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I think it looks like a great project and it's very well laid out, and I look forward to seeing it.
Thank you.
Gord?
Oh, looks good. Really appreciate you coming to the community.
I grew up there, so I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, and it's, thank you for the consideration that staff put forward of putting some accommodations above, because anything that adds to accommodations in the community right now is a bonus for us.
That's what I'm hearing, yeah.
Yeah, so thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Right, so is staff looking for us to recommend that this move forward?
Yeah, it's up to you. You can give advice to the applicant, or you can give advice to staff, or you can make a recommendation to council if you want to see it again. This probably is going to be, council will probably see it in September, so
okay.
You can bring it back to this committee again in September if that's what you want.
I think you have discussed most. I have no issues personally, and I think that the addition of rental units above is a great addition, and it's highway commercial, so it's a great development. I think go ahead. I don't know, did staff just get these drawings for the lot layout and that?
I would say we've probably had them for a little while. We could have included them in the package. We are still working on some of the landscaping things with the proponents, so.
Just be nice about the landscaping.
Yeah.
I know Sarah loves trees, so. Okay, so, all right, thank you very much. So I would like to say that the Planning and Development Committee recommends that this development moves forward with the ask that staff has, as long as the proponent is considering them. Good.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for, welcome to our community.
No worries.
Okay, moving on. 9:39. Oh, do we need to all vote on that? Vote the recommendation?
Can,
Okay, all in favor?
Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, well, you're in favor anyway, so just move along. We haven't got time to back up, but. Okay, next one, 939 Coach Road,
393.
or sorry, 393.
Yeah, it's written down wrong there.
yeah,
You got it kind of wrong on the agenda.
yeah.
I'm just looking at what I got here. So.
Yeah.
So, okay, the 393.
393. So the applicant, Mike Drager, he may be on the line. He wasn't sure if he could make it. But yeah, this is an application for a development permit. It's across the channel, just off Coach Road. Come to the end of Coach Road, there's 3 strata lots. So this is the middle strata lot. The other 2 properties have been developed, and this one is yet to be developed. Because it's within 30 meters of a watercourse development permit is required. That's the riparian areas protection regulation kicks in. So anything within 30 meters, you have to get a report from a qualified environmental professional. In this particular case, the building permit was issued. The house is actually outside of the 30 meters. There's one part of one of the retaining walls. So if you look at this drawing, the orange retaining wall C, the front of the house is about at 30 meters, so it wouldn't be required for the house, but because that one retaining wall sticks out into the 30 meters, a report's required. And because of that, the qualified environmental professional got involved. He did submit it to Ministry of Environment, and they actually rejected it because the development of the property had already started. So it's called a post-development report. So they're willing to look at that post-development report. That hasn't been finalized yet, or it hasn't been accepted by the ministry yet. I believe the report was included as part of the package. But yeah, the 30 meters is at the front of the house. So then just the one portion of the wall would be subject to it. The setback or the streamside protection enhancement area would be 15 meters. And that was from the QEP for this report and also for the rail trail. They agreed that the 15 meters or the setback would be only 15 meters. So the wall is actually outside of that streamside protection enhancement area. Staff's recommending that, that this development permit be issued once the report is accepted by the province, and then we can bring it to council.
Any comments?
I think I think it was just the order that they did it is the only thing, but this is a pretty standard thing. If they would have done it the other way, it wouldn't even be here. So I'd say, yeah, and this Versa block looks really good. So
Staff is recommending that once they get their order in the correct order. Right. Have they stopped work until they get this done now?
No, well, the wall is pretty much done. They're working on the house and they can continue to work on the house because it's outside the area. It's likely that they're going to have to come up with a plan to provide vegetation at the front of the property.
Mitigation.
Yeah.
Okay. Sarah can help with that.
I've done hundreds of these, yeah.
So is this committee in favor of staff's recommendation? Okay, all in favor? So be it. All right, Main Street revitalization update. Morgan Fairman, payment?
Paymont,
Paymont.
yeah. So, we have a little bit of a video for you, and I'm just gonna give an overview of some of our Main Street revitalization, public consultation events and surveys that, have been taking place over the last couple months. So our first event was an open house here in the council chambers on June 30th. The event was a combination of both short-term rentals and Main Street project. The public was invited to stop by anytime during the day. We had information posters where the public could put sticky notes with their comments, as well as a big map if their comments directly linked to a specific area in the district. We also had paper copies of the surveys and information how to access the surveys online if they preferred. And so we had conversations with about 12 people, but there was also other people stopping in. We also held an online workshop on Zoom on July 8th, again, discussing short-term rentals and the Main Street project. Most of the participants ended up being there for the short-term rentals. However, many gave some great input on Main Street as well. And we had about 6 participants for that event. On July 29th, Steffi and I went to the businesses along Main Street to talk to them about the project and give them the survey, which many hadn't seen it online and actually preferred receiving a paper copy. And they liked that we came and stopped by in person. Then with this video, we also had a survey asking kids which animal they wanted to be carved out of the stump at 417 Main Street, the future site of the Healing Center. The options were bear, raccoon, or owl. And the survey was available online in the lobby here. And we also brought copies to Kids Club and the Hub. We received 81 votes. And as you can see in the video, bear won, but only by 4 votes. So it was a close race. After determining the winning animal, local chainsaw artist Mike Ormondi carved a bear out of the stump on August 2nd and 3rd. Steffi was on site during the carving and talking about the Main Street project with people who came to see the carving process. And journalist Zachary Roman stopped by and wrote an article in the Eagle Valley News and Salmon Arm Observer, which was great. Because we also had our Main Street revitalization survey, which opened July 1st. And it just closed the other day. It was available online in the lobby here. Also at our open house, we delivered it to the Main Street businesses, as I mentioned. And we also had a static display set up at the Seniors Activity Center for a couple days. We didn't get many responses at first, especially compared to the short-term rentals survey. But after the bear carving and the articles in the newspapers, we got a bunch more responses. The day after, on August 4th, we received 62 new responses. And August 5th, we received another 24, which before the live carving, we'd only received 18. So that was awesome. And so in the end, we received a total of 117 responses. The survey had an average completion rate of 86%, and online respondents took an average of 10 minutes to complete it. And so we're just in the process of creating a report with the survey findings on what people want to see on Main Street. So that should be available soon. And yes, if you haven't already, you can go to 417 Main Street and check out the final finished bear carving.
Any comments? Go ahead.
Brian brought it up earlier, but the bear looks great. The houses look like crap. And I know they're getting done soon, I hear, but you know, like if it's not real soon, if we could even, you know, put a billboard up in front of it or something that says coming soon or something that lets people know that that isn't how Main Street looks.
Yeah,
And it's just, I've been fighting about those two houses since I started Communities in Bloom and Unsightly Premises, and it's always, it's gonna change soon, and it's been 5 years, so
yeah.
it's just, I'm.
Yeah.
It's government.
I
It's government.
had some friends come from out of town and they made the comment that, because, you know, if you think about it, we're in town here and we just drive past it. We don't even notice it because we know what's going to happen there. But if somebody from out of town drives by, they're like, what? But what's happening here? And so my friend's comments were, Brian, if you were to have a property that you were developing and you were to have it look like that, the district would be all over you. They said it in a more graphic way, but I won't say in this meeting. But it would be all over you. And I totally agree. It's like a fence saying coming soon would at least tell our tourists, the little few tourists we have now with the smoke.
This isn't acceptable.
This isn't,
sickening.
it's coming soon, you know, like there's gonna be something and you know, even construction fences is a thing, right? It's just, anyway, that's, I just wanted to just describe what somebody that came from into our town, their perception of it was, so.
And more so the idea that, you know, we're going around doing the unsightly premises thing.
And we're the worst.
And we now have we have the most visual unsightly premise in town. So a sign, a belt banner, something next week or by Friday would be good.
Or maybe.
I thought we were getting something printed up. Go ahead, Gordon.
I did mention it to Evan some time ago and he said they were doing a sign, but I haven't seen the sign.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's frustrating to see those houses there, and I'm kind of annoyed at the fact, obviously, that they're haven't been dealt with up to this time, but the asbestos issue was an issue and Evans was on it, and they were supposed to be removed by the end of July, and here now we're almost in the middle of August. So I've sent out a note to Evan. I'm asking what the hell's going on, why those houses, I have to bring in a cat myself, will pull those damn things down.
Go ahead, Gordon.
I voted by Friday. If they're not down, then we should just drive over them with a loader.
Well, you still got to clean up the mess, but it still is, you know, even MOTI says, you know, in 35 years, we're going to have the Trans-Canada 4-lane. They got signs all over the place. At least it says something.
Right.
So we could do the same thing.
Oh, sure, as long as we
Don't put a date on it though, because that'll be,
But we can put a sign up as long as we are in favor of the sign bylaw.
yeah. Oops.
You can't post a bill.
Go ahead, Scott.
without a permit.
I agree with you that it's not the image we want to put out there with sick moose, and I think we're hoping maybe the bear is the first step to let people know that something's happening.
The bear needs to be a lot bigger.
And it's a good thing because I would have said that the input to what the Main Street thing was with 18 people. Then got to go back out again. And even at 117, we still got to knock on some doors. So as councillors should be going out and making sure that people are aware and fill out this survey, because whatever happens on Main Street, that's what we're saddled with until the end of time.
But yeah, our goal was to generate some buzz that things are happening. So that was Morgan's last day is Friday, so she's been with us for 2 months for the summer. Yeah, this is more of an update on the project she's been working on, the public consultation. And I think it's been successful and she was very valuable for our team, and we'll continue that until next Friday, and then
So can we somehow drive a stake in the ground and put a sign up there that they look at the bear, something that says, do this survey? Because when I drove by it, there's the bear, all right, looks good. But if we had a stick in the ground with a sign on it that said online survey for what you think Main Street should look like. And then the next comment is what's happening to the bear after we start to develop that property? Where's the bear going? That's the next biggest question that everybody's asking. What's happening to that bear?
The survey is closed now.
Pardon me?
The survey is closed now. The last date of the survey was August 6th, Yeah. last Friday.
You feel you have enough input?
130,
117.
117.
117 is what you just said.
Yeah.
Total.
Yeah.
This is the thing that is going to shape the community, what that Main Street looks like. I think 117 is a little light. It's maybe a good start, but I think we need to get as many people with an opinion as we can.
Extend Morgan's contract.
She can use more money for school.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just got an answer from Evan regarding the housing. Said Daryl Simolet is the best to answer that. He's managing the demolition process, so maybe we can give him when he comes to council tonight, we'll ask him about it.
Okay.
What's happening there. But as far as the bear is concerned, I see they left enough wood below the feet of that bear, so we'll be able to cut it up or remove it somewhere along the line. But I think that they did an amazing job with that.
Well, it should probably be the entrance.
Thanks, Morgan. That was
Okay.
Right? Just saying. 'Cause that's what everybody's asking now. Now that you've carved that, Mike Whitehead said, I'm supposed to go take the stumps out. What am I supposed to do with that one?
leave that
It
one.
might,
Leave that one to the end.
just sit just behind the mayor's seat.
No.
Your little buddy.
We'll have to get it in a lead so that it may fall over.
You can pretend it's
I'm
talking.
sure we'll find a home for it.
Well, it'd be good at the, I mean, it's on that property. It was one of the original trees, so maybe it could be at the entrance.
Should be in there, I think so. Yeah, it should be part of that for sure.
So, anyway, thank you, Morgan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Morgan.
So, and your project or your portion or your job is completed on Friday's your last day?
Yes, next Friday is my last day.
Next Friday. And so you'll be still involved in the final report analysis until.
Yeah, I've been working on that.
Okay.
this week, yeah.
And my question would be is, out of the 117 responses, do you think you have enough variance to actually get a reasonable look or feel for what
A look of what people want to see.
on Main Street?
Yeah, I think for the most part, from what I've looked at in the responses, is it's a pretty, most people have the same idea of what they're looking for. So,
That,
a lot of sidewalk on that side and like lots of trees and, less vehicle oriented. Yeah.
which is kind of what we had drawn.
Yeah, so it's consistent with the OCP, like we're not seeing it going off and
Go ahead, Scott.
So there were 4 designs that Lawson Engineering came up with for the south side of the street. And so those were options for people. One option is a preferred option. The numbers have read that out.
Okay. All right.
they were all good options, so it's not like, you're saying we're stuck with it forever. It's all pretty good.
Well, no, but that's what I mean is if we muck this up, we might as well have not started it, right? It's kind of like a sidewalk in the middle of no place.
That's common everywhere though, Jeff.
Well, our new zoning says in the downtown and Riverside, we have sidewalks. On the rest of the community, we have widened walkways on the road. So there are no more sidewalks in the rest of our community. That's what the OCP laid out. That's what our hopeful, I haven't read through all the zoning bylaws, but that's what was supposed to be, because when we get a year where we get snow, we'll get 5 feet of it. And you need a place to go with it, and sidewalks and that are just in the way. The community was designed for that snow with no sidewalks, but yes, the town center, Riverside, and whatever other area we deem necessary to have sidewalks. But it's not having sidewalks over in Pine Streets and Hemlocks. I mean, it's actually cost the developer a lot of money, which gets passed on to the consumer, which makes your house less affordable. So wide roadways have worked for 30 years. So
Just a weird little side comment, but my husband saw them weed whacking lilies down in those 2 houses. So he went and dug them all up and planted them at seniors. So we're doing a little bit of recycling and things, like kind of too in terms of,
did he wear a hard hat and a high vis vest?
no, he didn't. No. But he's insured.
Is he? It's not to our benefit. All right, so thank you very much, Morgan.
Thank you.
I guess you'll be gone before we have the next planning committee and the next council meeting. So thank you very much for working with our community.
Yes, thank you. It's been great.
All right, zoning bylaw review. I apologize. I've been like crazy. I will comment basically. I could just get this thing. And we got a handout of the zoning bylaws. So in the mortgage, I was asked to have a look at the mortgage, marine mortgage specifically. So W1, I don't have any issues with that. I assume W1 is just strictly. W2 is group mortgage, which seems to indicate that it's multifamily tourist accommodations. One of your issues with not everybody that buys, like if you build, I noticed this years ago when I was building marinas in use, and not everybody that buys in a 50 or 60 unit on waterfront necessarily wants a mortgage. And if you go specifically to Quartzside, the first one next to the Main Street Landing, when they put their wake setter in there, and the guy puts his on this side, the guy puts his on this side, you can walk across them. They got no room. And they did that specifically because they didn't have enough room to build a 1-for-1, but they built a 1-for-1 anyway, sold it. Okay, which is inconvenient, meets no mortgage guidelines anywhere. I mean, unless it's in Bangladesh. So in a Soyuz, they put in a thing where unless you went for a variance, the mortgage was 0.6 or 0.75 of the strata unit, however big it was. And they also down there, they specifically stated that they needed to have a separate strata for mortgage.
A separate mortgage strata.
Yeah.
Because what happens is you get people in there that don't use it. and anything to do with that moorage, the people that have the boat or using it, they'll pay, they need to pay to maintain it, but the rest are going. It's just an expense to me. So some of them will try and rent it out. And then they, but any of them that I built, I found out later when you went back 2 years later or whatever, if there was a maintenance thing, it was like World War VII amongst the. So I used created that you, when you create moorage, you have to create, especially for strata, like if you're gonna do a condo development on the water, you have to create a separate strata. That way, the people that are using it and own it are willing to put the money in to maintain it. That's why you go down this lake here, go down to Crystal Sands. They need to rebuild that marina. Part of the strata wants to do it, the other part doesn't. So go ahead, sir.
Just a question for you. My general impression from council, and that's why I'm asking, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we want to try to start reducing the density on the channel. Is that?
That's, so that this would,
Okay,
this is 0.75 or 0.6.
so not 0.5, you're saying 0.6 or 0.75?
Well,
There.
I'm just suggesting maybe staff does a little research on it. 0.5 would be too light. Like out of the things that I did when I built the condos in the Soyuz, it seemed to be 60% of them wanted moorage. So that's why I'm going 0.75, 0.6, somewhere in that number, but not a 1-for-1. All right. Go ahead, brother.
It's just a question for you. Have you ever, has there ever been one, you know how if you have a parking, you can have a parking lot with a strata and they can have assigned parking where you don't own that parking spot, that's yours. And at other place, there's other places where you'll, you can only park in that parking lot if you live in that condo, but there's nobody has a specific spot. So it's first come, first serve, but there's enough. Now, have you ever seen something like that with a dock, with a marina where, because if you go down the channel any day of the year, you'll see half of them don't have a boat in them. And so if there was either assigned or the first come, first serve where you're able to put a boat in your spot. But I think for this community, that would make a lot of sense. But have you ever seen that? Or does it work? Or
Well, part of the consideration of the ones that I've built in the past was that exactly that. The reason that the marina ended up being in disrepair and unsafe was that the strata, when they go to spend money, as far as I know, they need a 75% boat to spend money. So they could never get it because only 60% of the people had a boat. So they went, well, why do I want to put money into that? So
right.
then it fell into disrepair, then it became dangerous. Not that but it's a way to encourage it. The other thing is by creating the strata for the moorage, yes, then if you had extra spots, they could choose to rent them out. That's a risky slope because you have businesses in town here.
Yeah.
Both storage and moorage. And so I don't know that you want to create more. Got a couple
I agree.
big developments that have, because I designed them. 2 Mile has a 250 some slip in front of it. Waterways has 300 and some slips in front of it. The old Waterways property, and the one in front of beside Grandview Shore, the rock pit, if it gets developed, he's got 100 and some slips in front of it. So there is an excessive amount of moorage that's available if it got built out. But Twin Anchors is full and they're gonna fill in the rest of their marina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's why the channel and the rail thing and the not having access to the water is not right. We're a waterfront community. But if we did those two things alone, not saying they can't come in for variance, if they have enough space, like if they're out on the lake, Like, for example, the one next to Grandview Shores, he wants 100 and some slips, it's only put 36 units. That might be a bit of a stretch, all right, but if we had the bylaw in place before he starts and it says 0.6 or 0.75, he could come in and ask for a variance to go to 1-to-1, right?
So right now in the bylaw, we have 1 per 2 upland tourist accommodation units, and then we have 1 for each multifamily residential. So you'd like to see the multifamily perhaps reduced from 1-for-1 to
0.75.
The 0.75. Yeah, the 1 per 2 upland tourists, like that might be a hotel resort or something. That would have affected the 2 mile. Because I don't know how many places they're putting in there, so. So like I said, they would come for a variance for that. I mean, it more is restrictive in the channel, which for the most part, the channel is pretty much built out. There's only like 3 pieces or 4 pieces of property left there. And nobody can build anything really on the far side. Number 1, because the rail trail and the upland ownership issue. Number 2, because the navigable channel on that side is considerably narrow, so. And then my other comment was, oh yeah. You have, in W2, we should remove boat launch. You don't want a bunch of boat launches. They shouldn't even get the part that they can do.
So we would reserve that potentially for public boat launch where.
Well,
Events.
if you wanted to have them contribute to a public boat launch. Like, but for them to have their own boat launch, no. Right. Again, it'll be, everybody will go, well, we want to use that, we can't use it. We have quite a few boat launches. Other than one, the Old Town Bay one. Most of them need a dire amount of repair. So, and the access to them, Old Town Bay's got good access, but Capel, bad access, Finlayson, good access. Wet up out at the old waterways property. I mean, you can't even turn around there. So like we got a roadway that's 30 feet wide and a boat launch is 30 feet wide. You got to back off the highway all the way down there legally if they didn't want to allow you to turn on their property to use it. And we eliminated all the parking, which if that wants to lease parking, that's great. So boat launches, if they're built right, like the Old Town Bay or the Finley or Capel, will be, that's different, but that's an expensive proposition. Development to put it out. So it's better just to take it out.
Okay.
Then my other comments were to do with off-street parking requirements. So I don't know if this is going to be a part of it. So we got the line in here that says 200, the last line says short-term rental. Space per bedroom. And we know for,
Over occupying short-term rentals?
well, certainly they are.
Yeah.
It's like a houseboat, you know. It's designed for 12 people and they get 20 on it and they don't care who they're sleeping with. So, you know, they bring extra vehicles. That's what it is. So we need the short-term rentals. And I'm not sure, like that doesn't apply to, it just applies to the residential. So if we're going through our Airbnb stuff to make it, we either got to get something in there for the parking or in our parking thing, wherever makes the most sense. But you're going to have a short-term rental. I would suggest 1.5 minimum per bedroom.
Per bedroom.
I don't know, does that sound acceptable?
Is that just from? the
2 ways to look at it, but
Consultant?
I don't know. I gotta think about that one.
It's just out of our.
Well, legally, they're not supposed to have more
Okay.
they're like, they're not supposed to be sleeping on it. If they come in and they do like
Yeah,
the new bylaw for Airbnb is that the resident is supposed to be there, somebody's supposed to be able to be reached.
right.
They have to basically do a DP
Yeah,
and they have to go to the neighbors, so if neighbors all say no, then they're not gonna have one, so that solves that problem. But in the areas where they are allowed, like Portside, they just did a bylaw here not long ago to their strata and eliminate rentals. You can't rent those. That's in their own bylaw, so. But we need to ensure they're not parked on the street in front of like they were in, yeah, is that Gavel's, like the white one on they're in front of the fire hydrant, they're parked everywhere, so. I personally think that you should make it 1.5, but that's gotta be a council decision. I'm just going, every time you go where they got Airbnb, there's usually more vehicles than there is parking. And it's not maybe because people doing the Airbnb didn't move their boat vehicle out of their own garage so that they had the parking spots. The Legacy is a prime example of that. They're parked everywhere over there. And they're parked everywhere because people have, most of them have 2 parking spots, and one of them is for their boat and their vehicle. And then have a vehicle one, then they leave all their stuff in there. So. And my other one was commercial. And I hate to do this, but houseboat rental operations. Yeah, 2 spaces. Yeah, not. Because the boat that I had, well, the small boat that I have is good for 14, which is, 7 couples. And the big boat, the 5s, they're good for 24, but there's usually 30 on them. So figure 12 or 14 cars for that boat. So you might want to revisit the 2 spaces per houseboat.
Houseboats.
Go ahead, Gordon.
No, I agree. I had some things to add.
Okay. So that was it for me. I didn't get a chance to thoroughly go through the rest of it. I just started at the back end with the waterfront marina stuff because I have the experience with them, and I just happened to skim down to the parking and I went, well, this doesn't look, it's only those 2 comments, so.
Or the next council meeting, I think, is in September. Could be. We might not have another meeting until September, like the Planning and Development Committee. So I was wondering if the Planning and Development Committee would want to meet prior, like in the meantime, before
yeah.
the next council meeting. So have a kind of a special, that all we talk about was the zoning bylaw.
I think that our next council meeting, which one are we canceling?
One at the end of the month.
At the end of this month. So when's the one in September? Because we got UBCM the 11th through the 17th.
The one in the beginning of September will happen, but not the one at the end of, no, I think both possibly. I'm not sure where UBCM is. It's between like the 4th and the
Okay,
Like the 25th.
15th to 17th,
11th to the 17th.
11th to the 17th.
I looked it up.
So the week of the 22nd to the 28th, I'm away. And away the first week in September.
So in the first regular council meeting is on the 8th.
We'll
I
be
can-
having a council meeting on the 8th of September.
So that would be fine to have it.
You want to have one, another one just for zoning stuff before, like in the month of August?
I guess that's up to this committee. I mean, we usually have it the day of council. And if we're not, if the 25th is gonna be canceled, it's up to us if we want to have one. Are you aware of what's coming forward? Have you, I mean, I've heard a couple rumors. I don't know if I want to talk about if they're coming or not. Have you seen anything?
Or
Okay, so like the rock garden over there. Back to Saponi Road.
we haven't heard from them. We haven't received an application.
So is there anything else that, you know, that's,
We're hoping Main Street, at least for the back part, up by the roundabout, and Dean, some Parkway addition.
yeah. I thought we were gonna have, because we asked to kind of see what he was doing. I heard he's putting up a 30-foot high building. But I haven't seen it.
He's still got his engineer, his structural engineer is still working with the architect to make sure that they're meeting, so the plans aren't quite ready yet. And then,
Proposed time frame for that?
not sure. Dean is perfectly happy to make sure they get it right before moving
Okay.
forward.
And so Main Street is based on the finalization of the report they have then?
Yeah, we're just waiting on the province just to make sure they don't freeze them on the building parcel. The back parcel though, I mean, they can move forward with that. So the agent was just talking with the owner about the waste enclosure. That's on that big parcel and it would need a variance. It would also need a permit from MOTI because it's within 4.5 meters. So I was hoping to have that for this day, but I guess they haven't figured out what they want to do with that because they're just gonna wait, I think.
Okay, so if it's okay with the committee, we can, is everybody available on the 25th? Are you still here?
I'm away, but I can zoom in.
I won't be here on the 25th.
You won't be. So then I'm just about going.
What about the 30th of?
The 30th is a Monday. When are you back, Scott?
I'll be back on the 30th.
I'll be back on the 30th as well.
I won't be here on the 30th,
You won't be?
but you guys, you can go ahead. I can put my own notes down together.
Well, let's see what you have. See what comes up the pipe. And give us a heads up like you usually do on the 20th. You know, that's 10 days. If there's enough to warrant having a planning meeting, I guess Gord wants to speak to a couple things in the zoning thing. So do you want to do that? Because I wanted to ask about how we were making out with, and I'm not sure with any additional information from MOTI about accesses. Have we got anything back?
Anything.
Nothing. But we are supposed to be doing something with that.
So for access off,
We could, I mean, I'm not sure. I think it's in camera, so we can go, we have it in camera. It's just, I'd like the TI access is something I'd like to ask about, make a comment about. So Gord, what comments did you have regarding the zoning bylaw?
Just the marine part. Sarah or Scott have ever looked into float homes? Green zone, you know, so TA's talked about float homes. And it would be something that we should do some homework on.
Can't run this through the first reading tonight.
oh, yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
If you guys are done with your private conversation,
No, I'm just concerned about tonight's recommendation when it comes to the first reading for these the zoning bylaws.
well, I guess the question is the,
I don't see any harm in having it go through first reading.
no, because first reading is, you still, if you were doing first and second, then we're gonna have a problem.
Yeah, yeah.
So first reading, I don't see an issue with it. These couple things that I mentioned are, you know, you might have to do a little research into it. And so when do you think second reading is gonna happen? Probably a month later.
I'd say longer than a month, in September,
Okay,
but we want to make sure we have it right before second reading, so.
yeah, so let's do the first readings to get the ball started here, and then we can go through this and mark it up. We got a hard copy. It's online now.
Yeah.
Right, so I'll make sure that every developer I know has a look at it. Because that's what started this whole thing, going back and forth, so.
I have one little thing, but I think Gord was.
Yeah, Gord mentioned in the marine zone that we might want to consider float homes.
Have you done any homework on floating homes? Like, it's a big thing out in Vancouver. And we do have a manufacturer here that is maybe looking into it, building some.
Okay.
Just something to think about.
We
We
do
might
have a
have-
definition for float home, and there might be some regulations, but we didn't actually add them into any zone, just because we weren't sure of where they might be appropriate, so and we can look into a little bit on that.
Well, like if you go to Grandview Isle, there's the waterfront apartments there, but in the moorage, they have some of them. So.
Fraser River's kind of filling up with them. You know, the Fraser River's getting lots of float homes and becoming very popular.
Yeah.
But they're all engineered. It's an engineered concrete slab, like the one that's out of Waterways. That's a float office. So we allowed that to happen, and it's all engineered, it's compartmentalized, it's got the water and sewer and everything for hookup. So that's your biggest thing, is the water and sewer hookup. Go ahead.
I just wanted to make a comment because I think I was not sure when the right timing was talking about the zoning is. I have always thought that the downtown center should have independent business and no chain business. Tofino has done that before, went through that process. I think it's a great thing for the culture and the form and character and the feel of a community. I don't think it's realistic for all through Sycamoose, but for the downtown area, I think that could be something that we don't have to be Salmon Arm, we don't have to be Vernon. We're limited in geographical space because of the expansion, and we can do it now because we don't have a Boston Pizza on Main Street. But if we do it now, it could be great for the town going forward.
Saying no franchises?
Yep. I'm just saying that that's something that I think is a great idea for the town, and I think the council should talk about it.
Your franchise Main Street?
The downtown Finlayson Street.
So Main Street and Finlayson, you're saying?
Downtown core on the map.
Yeah, it's a really big area in the OCP.
Yeah.
It's a very large
I
center, so that's why I'm wondering, like, if it's by street, that, we can-
know, I think the whole area, and then if you guys want to claw it back to a certain place, I'd rather it be the whole. That's just my suggestion. I'm one person, but I think that it's something when it's been done in other communities. Once one gets in, you can't anymore, but when it's been done in other communities, it's really worked well, and it's I think it's a very, very good thing to do, and
Would you mind just explain a little bit about what Tofino did exactly?
so Tofino, so when someone came in with a development permit, they had I guess, would you call it a moratorium on these you would be able to explain the terminology, I think, a little better than I can, but so large franchises, well, chains like the
Walmart, McDonald's.
Subway, McDonald's, anything like that, chapters, those kind of things. The people pushing back would say that we are limiting ourselves. What if this big chain store wanted to come in? And I actually feel totally the opposite of that. I think that it helps with the character of a small town. And if you have these franchises on every corner, we look like every other town. And
Bath did that.
yeah,
Bath has no.
it's I don't know if this is the right place to do it, but it's out there that that's how.
Definitely makes you unique if you want to go to Walmart and
Yeah,
Canadian Tire and all that stuff, go to Salmon Arm. We don't need to have it here. It's close enough. I mean, if they build a new highway, it's safe, it'd be great, but
As long as it supports those bigger, larger format.
if I'm crazy, tell me. But I think that it's a great thing to do for Sycamus.
like Walmart out in the industrial park out there, or
Yeah,
I want to put DQ next to the Chevron, like fill your boots, but
Yeah.
should it be on Main Street with their set deal?
One of the things I kind of like about that idea is I've had some people yammering at me about the DQ and about, whatever. And there is an element of, we don't need another fast food, we don't need whatever. But if like I look at Golden, I look at Revelstoke, their highway commercial, yeah, it's got all those franchises just like everybody else. But you go into town and you're not dealing with that anymore. You're, you've got your unique.
Revelstoke.
you can have Joe's Burger Joint
Yeah.
that has all the same things but it's an independent business.
Mhm.
And then so there's something a little different that sets you apart from other towns.
But it's how we counter those arguments too. It's that, you know what, highway commercial is highway commercial.
Yeah,
But we agree with you and we're saying that this is the no franchise zone.
Yeah, so if you got highway commercial, like your Blondie's facing the highway and we had access to the service road there, well, McDonald's wants to come or whoever wants to come, that's one thing, is that's highway commercial.
that's right.
It's not truly highway commercial because there's no access really off the highway. You gotta get to Finlayson, which now on Finlayson is town center. It's a split zone we did over there, basically. So if we're going to do that sort of thing, I agree. We should put something in our zoning bylaw that there's no franchised
Talk,
in our town center.
yeah, I
It does create a unique thing like Banff. That's what they have in Banff. You don't find any of that stuff on Main Street.
And I want it to be known that I'm not doing this for tourists. I'm doing this for locals and tourists. It's like, or I'm putting this idea for locals and tourists. I would love to, if hopefully some of these new restaurants that are coming in, it's great to be able to go and walk and go and sit in these restaurants or go to a little store, a bookstore, but it doesn't have to be a Chapters. It can be, and we're a small enough town that we don't need it. We're going to get to the stage, it's hard to believe when you walk down Main Street, but it's getting to the stage where we run out of room. So we can be choosy, I think, in a short while, but
Definitely. We'll look into it, find out how other places have done it. Yeah, definitely will bring something back for you.
Well, we have to do something that makes us unique. And if we got a Walmart and a Canadian Tire, and I mean, look at Parkland early, they're not on Main Street, right? So, and that's all, and I totally agree. Like, if you want unique, like take White Mud Avenue or White Street by the University in Edmonton. There's a bunch of old dilapidated hotels and one guy basically kind of started buying up the stuff. And he put boutique hotel rooms and offices. One room became an office, the next room stayed a hotel, the next room became an office, second floor check-in, lower level is all commercial. Like and not any box store stuff. And every third commercial lower space has a restaurant of some sort. And that's what you want. If you're gonna have it, that it's a walkable town. And you would make it accessible. If we just came up with some place to park. Because other than that, they gotta walk from Revelstoke or somewhere. So. Yeah, so if we looked into that, that would be good.
That'd be great.
Any other comments about the zoning? Like I said, I haven't had a chance to delve, but I looked at most of the other stuff. Is the, I never looked close enough, is the Airbnb in here? It is.
It's mixed in, so we're trying it out in the country residential zone. So the existing one allows you to have like a seasonal cabin. And we've had lots of inquiries, people wanting to do just that on the property, or have that and a house kind of thing. So it's in the draft. You can have a short-term rental and a house in the country residential zones. And part of the rationale behind that is they're larger properties or further away from residential areas. So it kind of creates a little bit of a buffer. So it's drafted in there, and then it's drafted in where you expect it to be all along Riverside in the condos. And aside from that, there's some general regulations for the general regulations section, and then there's the parking. And yeah, we're just holding off right now. So the survey for short-term regulations is closed, but we're wanting to bring that stuff forward along with the housing strategy so we can consider them together in terms of any changes we want to make to the zoning bylaw alongside. So September-ish. Get them to line up so we can.
I was just, sorry, does the scope of trying to include, or, you know, like, and does it slow this down, or does this slow down that? Or like, does adding them all together make it just that nothing ever gets done?
No, we can always come back later, right? Like we can keep moving forward with the bylaw as it is.
Okay.
Like, I mean, a lot of what we saw from the survey is that, yeah, there's support for it in the town center and along the riverside. There's really not a lot of support for it in our residential areas, like our core residential areas. So it seems fairly safe to take that forward for consultation, see what people say, right? And then anything else that comes out of the housing strategy in terms of recommendations, we can come back and do amendments to the bylaw later, like next year, early next year.
Yeah, because it does seem to be one of the hot buttons, like pressure areas more than anything else right now. So
we
people are expecting something to get done.
We don't actually we do not specifically, there's no listing for an Airbnb.
We have a definition of short-term rental. We have some regulations for short-term rental. We're working on what you would be required to get a business license for short-term rental. And then they are permitted in some zones, but not the R1 and R2 zone, not the smaller.
I thought we were gonna make it that you had to make an application like a DP.
It would be a zoning amendment, really, right?
I thought that.
You'd have to do now. If you're in the tree streets, say, you'd have to make a zoning an application.
Yes, but the idea is that if you're gonna allow it in the condos,
Yes.
then,
Then you need a building permit and a business license.
okay.
Yeah,
So those-
Building permit is
that's where we catch it.
that's the catch.
So,
Permit, there'd be an inspection for safety, occupancy, fire. And that would be, you can't get your business license without your building permit.
okay, so then is it gonna be directly tied to the rental? It will be a rental, so now their taxation goes from residential to.
Yeah, so that's stuff that Wendy collects, right? So she gets notification whenever we issue business licenses, building permits, and she does her magic with it. Yeah.
Any other comments? All right, well then, I guess let's get to the last thing on the thing. Number 6, adjournment. Recommendation that the Planning and Development Committee meeting for August 11th, 2021 be adjourned at the time being 2:48. All those in favor? Thank you. Good meeting.
You guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Get started.